Are you tired of the push and pull between abundance and anxiety? Then this conversation is for you. Hey, beautiful human, it's me, Rebecca Wiener McGregor, the Anxiety Eraser, and welcome to another episode of Effective Immediately, the show where we talk mindset, healthy emotions, abundance, and leadership, and I give you a mindset shift that you can make effective immediately. Okay, are you ready? First, I want to dispel some rumors about anxiety and stuckness and abundance. You can have massive abundance while having anxiety. You do not have to have perfect emotions to receive. You do not have to be perfectly in receiving. You do not have to be perfectly calm, perfectly happy, perfectly high vibration. You do not have to do any of that perfectly to receive. It gets to be very imperfect about how your emotions are. The biggest piece is that you have to believe in what you want to come, what you want to show up for you. Okay? So as we talk about this today, remember, we're looking at it with curiosity. We're looking at collecting data, but we are not eliminating any possibility for you to receive because you're feeling some kind of emotion that doesn't feel good. Okay? The reason I want to talk about this is because you're probably not feeling as good as you want to feel. You're probably not feeling as joyful as you want to feel. And you're probably distracted by anxiety, stuckness, depression, whatever it is that's showing up for you. Okay, so I want you to be super loving with yourself as we talk about this. And I want to acknowledge that you may not be feeling specifically anxiety. A lot of people come to me and they have diagnosed themselves with having anxiety. They have diagnosed themselves as having anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and feeling overwhelmed, feeling stuck, feeling depressed, feeling angry, feeling frustrated, resentful, etc. These are the kind of feelings that I help people move for the last 20 years, and we can shift them very swiftly. And the reason we're talking about this today is because anxiety, or any version of the things that I just mentioned to you, will fight you feeling as abundant as you want to feel. All of those things will fight you feeling as abundant as you want to feel. Take that in. And the thing is, when you're feeling those kind of feelings, you're not having as much fun as you want to have. The things that you want to create in your life, you have to fight with the feelings in order to work on, in order to move forward on, in order to allow yourself to have. Okay, so we're going to be very, very transparent here and remembering that because you might be dealing with anxiety, stuck, overwhelmed, feeling like you don't have the traction that you want to feel, does not exclude you from having abundance. There are lots of stories out there that you have to be doing everything perfectly in order to allow abundance into your life. And that is simply false. And you're going to hear me say that a few times today because I don't want anyone to feel like if they're struggling with anything, the abundance tap has been shut off. That's simply not true. Okay? All right, give yourself a breath. Let's look at this now. We're talking about anxiety, stuckness, panic, rage, anger, frustration. All of these things have roots. They're not usually about what's happening right now. If we're looking at a chronic feeling, if we're looking at a feeling that's been going on for a long time, they're not usually rooted in what's happening right now. They're rooted in old stories, old experiences that you have had throughout your life. And we've all had them, okay? No one is excluded from having trauma in their lives. Some may be big T trauma, the kind of things that you would readily think of as trauma. Some may be little t trauma, things that you may have just simple, tiny experiences that made you shift the way that you saw yourself and the world. Okay? So as you are looking at the kinds of experiences that you might have had in the past, I want you to give yourself a nice, easy breath, noticing. This is all for, you're all going to be in a state of noticing with curiosity, looking at the data, okay? And this is your reminder that whatever kind of trauma, big T or little t, that you've had in your life does not exclude you from having the abundance beyond your wildest dreams. You are allowed to have pain and simultaneously have abundance. Maybe this should have been the whole conversation today. All right, so be super loving with yourself as we go into this. The reason that I particularly help people release anxiety from their lives, release rage, release stuckness, overwhelm, all of that kind of stuff from their lives is A, because it feels crappy in the body. It feels terrible in the brain. And it's hard to do lots of other things when you feel terrible. If you know my story, if you've been around me long enough, you know that 20 years ago I was dealing with anxiety and anger, and I was hiding from my life. I was frustrated, I was stuck, I was a victim to myself. And finding hypnosis was the thing that changed my life completely and gave me life beyond my wildest dreams. So that's why I'm so passionate about helping people undo the anxiety and the beliefs that go along with it. Okay, so here's what happens. When we go through those experiences and we start to think about ourselves and the world differently, it creates different beliefs. We begin to believe certain stories about ourselves and what's possible about ourselves because of the experiences. This may mean that you don't feel quite worthy of everything that you want. This may mean that you're not sure that you deserve everything that you want. And along with that, you've been learning stories, you've been learning the rules, you've been learning beliefs and experiences from the culture that you've been around, your religion, the media, things that you've read, things that you've overheard in your home about your worthiness, about success, about what's possible for you. All of those things come together and create a ball of beliefs. Okay, and I want you to imagine it as like a ball of thread that's just been added to and added to over your life. Now what happens is you overhear things, right? Like, money is the root of all evil. Or, no one in our life, in our family has been that successful. I don't know what they're trying to prove. Or money doesn't grow on trees. And these are like the basic ones, right? These are the very basic ones that we've heard millions of times. We've watched movies countless times where the person who was the evil genius also had a massive amount of cash to help them carry out their plan, their evil plan, right? We have seen wealth talked about. We've heard wealth talked about. We've seen programming about wealth being bad. So you take what you've seen around the world, what you've seen in your life, what you've seen on television, what you've seen in the movies, what you've heard about in your homes at your kitchen tables when you were young, and in your grandparents' house when you were young. The things that were said around you were little sponges. So we take all of that on, and all of those threads come together in this big ball. Okay? So not only do you have your own experiences, your big T and little t experiences, that changes your story about yourself, you also have these other stories that have gone on around you that you've taken in, telling you what's possible for you. Countless times people have come to me and said, well, no one in my family has ever been as successful as I am. And so if I even get more successful, I might drive my family away. I might drive my partner away. I might not be able to manage the level of success that's coming next because I've never seen anybody do it. Okay? So as you're looking at all of these things, all your ball of thread, your ball of beliefs, all of that contributes to what you believe is possible for you with abundance. And when some of the threads are anxiety, depression, regret, shame, doubt, blame, all of that stuff gets stuck in there just a little bit stickier. It's harder to move. Now, the reason I'm talking about the push and pull between anxiety and abundance is that when you are feeling anxiety or any of the feelings that I mentioned earlier, frustration, resentment, overwhelm, uncertainty, doubt, blame, feeling like a victim, these kinds of things, they are a distraction from you creating what you want. Having that clear vision and that clear belief that I mentioned earlier. It's not that you can't have everything that you want while you're feeling those feelings. By the way, if that's a brand new thing for you that you are just realizing right now, you're just learning right now that you can actually have abundance and feel crappy at the same time, you can. You won't enjoy it as much. And it may take a little bit longer to get. It may take just a little bit longer to get to your vision. Okay, and the reason I'm talking about this is because I work with people who are ready to move the old trauma, the big and little T trauma. They're ready to move the anxiety. They're ready to move the frustration, the resentment. They're ready to heal their emotions so they can focus on accelerating the speed of their abundance. Okay, so if you are ready for that, I want you to go to RebeccaWiener.com and schedule a call with me. For now, I want you to look at, there are ways for you to start to undo your ball of belief. And a lot of it is just being present with yourself, being loving with yourself, not being frustrated when the feelings come up, when the experiences happen, and you start to wonder, oh my gosh, am I cutting myself off from abundance right now? Am I too anxious? Am I too overwhelmed? Am I too sad? Am I too whatever to have abundance? You get to remember this moment right now that you are an abundant being living in an abundant universe, so nothing can stop that. And if you're ready to move some of these threads out of your ball of belief, I want you to pay attention to this. When you have a belief come up, you start to look at, where did this belief come from? Not why am I having it? Not what's wrong with me? We're not in judgment here, we're in curiosity. Where do I think this belief came from? And then let yourself zoom out a little bit and follow the thread. Follow the thread to where it may have come from. When you can do that, you can start to create new thoughts. And then as you think those thoughts more and more often, they can become your beliefs. Because a belief, as we know, is just a thought that's been thought over and over and decided it was true. Give yourself a breath. All right, so remembering that we're looking at all this with curiosity. We're looking at all of this with love. We're understanding now that abundance and anxiety or any of those related feelings are not mutually exclusive. You're allowed to have both. When you want to move the anxiety, when you decide that you want to move the anxiety and the related feelings, the chronic stress, the chronic overwhelm, the chronic questioning, the doubt, and the uncertainty, what will happen is that you will be able to focus more on the big dream, the big vision, your mission. Because the path will be clearer. As you do this, you start to explore the kinds of thoughts that you're having. You start to explore, how long have I been in this place? How long have I been struggling with this? How much energy has this thing taken? How much energy have I put into the questioning, the wondering, the anger, the frustration? You might notice just how much energy you're actually using to feel those feelings. Now, this is not bad or wrong. We're just noticing. We're just looking at it with curiosity. And I want you to imagine for a moment, what if you were able to reduce that feeling by 50%? And you reduce the energy expenditure by 50%, and you started to use that 50% of that energy toward your vision, toward your goal, toward your big mission. What would it look like to have 50% more energy to use toward maintaining the vision that you want for yourself, to make your gifts and your skills even that much more potent? How many more people could you help? How much bigger would your impact be? How much greater would your ripple be? I'm asking you this to do a self-assessment. I'm not in judgment. I'm a perfectly imperfect human being as well, a work in progress myself. But noticing this, when you release the anxiety, when you release the overwhelm, and that may be that you are practicing mindfulness and meditation. You're doing all the things that you already know how to do. It may be that you are shifting into that generative state of gratitude. It may be that you are releasing judgment of all the things happening around you. When you do that and you allow the anxiety to decrease, you're giving yourself more space, more energy to put toward what you actually want, what you actually want to create in your life. It may be a divine partnership. It may be the relationship of your dreams. It may be the energy to connect with your children the way that you want to. It may be the energy that you need to get super clear on what your vision is for your business. It may be that you want more energy to have more fun and to be more creative. Any energy that's used toward these things, just like any energy that we spend anywhere, can only be used toward that. It's spent. When you allow yourself to be on the path where the anger is decreased, the frustration is decreased, the resistance is decreased, and you're not judging yourself, you're not judging the energy, you're not judging how you're feeling, you allow yourself space to have more focus on the abundance. And I'm not just talking about a perspective shift. I'm talking about, you'll notice, am I allowing this in? Am I open to receiving right now? Could I open my receiving a little bit more? Remembering always that no matter how you're feeling, you're still an abundant being in an abundant universe. So you're allowed to have abundance and other feelings at the same time. The stories, the kind of sneaky beliefs that people try to thread into their stories that you're not allowed to have abundance if you feel yucky is simply not true. You're allowed to have pain. You're allowed to have frustration. You're allowed to have anxiety and still have an abundant life. But you might not feel very abundant if you feel crappy with anxiety or depression or anger or frustration. And you may let it distract you, unintentionally, of course, from noticing opportunities, from stepping up for opportunities, from allowing yourself to be seen, from allowing yourself to take the stage, to do the big thing, to write the book, to start the live stream, to start the podcast, to open your business, to raise your prices, to allow yourself to reach the kind of client that you want to reach. Do you see how all of this is coming together? That there's a push and pull here just from the stories that we hear about what's possible if you feel any kind of quote unquote negative feeling. I like to call them unbeneficial feelings, stopping you from having anxiety. And then also recognizing anxiety, overwhelm, anger, frustration, etc., as a distraction from you amplifying what you want to amplify. And at the beginning of this live stream, we talked about how the things that we've gone through in our lives that equate to big trauma, big T trauma or little t trauma, create beliefs about what's possible for us. So absolutely, to value yourself, to honor yourself, to feel worthy of what you want. When you move these things out, when you allow yourself to believe other beliefs, the anxiety, the physical response will go away. It will go away. That's the basis of the work that I do, is we look at the root. So you can allow those feelings to actually dissolve, to evaporate, and allow yourself to then focus on what it is that you want to create. Because often that big ball of beliefs that we have, all those threads of stories that we've heard in the media, we've heard through the movies, we've heard at our kitchen table, we've heard at our grandparents' house, at church, whatever. All of those stories that make up your belief systems, they're actually stealing focus. They're telling you you can't have what you want because this is the way it is for you. And all of those things are tied to the experiences of your past. All of that is movable so that you can open yourself up to enjoying creating more abundance, setting yourself up for success by taking more opportunities, getting yourself out there, allowing yourself to be seen. Even as I'm saying that, if you're having inner feelings about those things, this is part of your ball of belief. And you can pull those threads one at a time to allow yourself to stretch into being the person that you want to be, to allow yourself to have the opportunities that you want to have in order to create the abundance that you want to have. It's really simple, right? It's not rocket science. I like to joke and say it's not rocket surgery. You're allowed to have what it is that you want. What was brought to you, brought to your mind as an idea, as a vision, is because it's for you. The work of your life is to undo that ball of beliefs and allow yourself to have the abundance in all forms in every area of your life. In your relationships, love, joy, and trust. In your bank account, money flowing, easy streams of income for you to receive. You're allowed to have friendships and connections. You're allowed to have many big opportunities and create them and look for them and allow yourself to expand. You may have stories about how much time it's going to take to do all of this. And all of that can be accelerated by shifting that ball of belief that you have. All the stories, all the beliefs that it's got to take a certain amount of time to get to anything that you want to do. You may have a belief that it's got to take a certain amount of money to make a certain amount of money that you want to make. What if you shifted your beliefs about those things? You have to be a perfect person in order to receive the perfect person into your life in the relationship. that you have to come from a perfect family that's already very successful in order to have success yourself. Maybe you have beliefs that, well, because I have spiritual gifts, there's only so far that I can get with success before people see me as greedy. There are lots of beliefs rolled up in that ball of beliefs that you carry. And we all have a ball of beliefs. So do not think that you're the only one. We're all pulling at the threads. If we're working on ourselves, and that's probably why you're here, we're all pulling at the threads, looking at our beliefs, and beginning to shift into other beliefs about what's possible for us. What if it didn't take as long? What if it didn't require as much money? What if you were able to get help from someone that you don't even know, just simply because you asked? What if you were allowed to be wildly successful even though your parents always struggled? Play a fun what if game. Allow yourself to begin to see the feelings that you have, the abundance, as not just a goal, but something you're living in and something that you can create more of when you allow yourself to release the unbeneficial beliefs, the unbeneficial feelings, the anxiety, the resentment, the overwhelm, etc. Those feelings do not exclude you from having abundance, but they will distract you. It'll take a lot longer and you won't feel as good as you want to feel because you're putting all the energy into fighting those feelings rather than allowing yourself to create opportunities for more abundance. So being super loving with yourself, super curious, looking at the data like we always do. We're not here to judge ourselves or anyone else. We're just looking at the data about what can be possible. What can be possible for you if you chose to go all in, releasing the old beliefs, releasing the old stories, healing the old trauma, so that you could then take all of that energy that you used to spend fighting that stuff and focus it on creating abundance for yourself? How much faster will it happen? How much easier? How much joy will you have? How much clarity and certainty and faith and trust in yourself will you have doing it that route? Okay, are you ready for your mindset shift of the week, your effective immediately mindset shift of the week? Anytime that you are feeling anxious and you're worried about abundance at the same time, I want you to put your hand on your heart and I want you to ask yourself, what thoughts can I practice right now that will help me feel abundance? What thoughts can I practice right now that will help me feel abundance? Whatever the story is that's coming up that you're feeling anxious about abundance, what can you shift to in its place? Remember, a belief that you have is only a thought that you thought so many times that you figured it was true. And now imagining that you can trust yourself to create a new belief simply by thinking the thought over and over, trusting in that thought, believing in that thought so much, allowing it to become the belief that you want. Practice makes better, okay? Practice it and enjoy the process. All right, I have opened 4 new spots for my private one-on-one elevated leader, and I will help you release the anxiety, the stress, the overwhelm, and the stuck patterns so that you can release that feeling from your body, from your mind, and take that energy and focus it on creating more abundance for yourself. A faster path to the abundance, being creative, opening yourself up to more opportunities, allowing yourself to use the energy that you used to take, fighting your mind and your body to create the life that you want. Okay, you can connect with me at RebeccaWiener.com. You can send me a DM wherever you see this video, or you can connect with me directly at callwithrebecca.com. All right, have a beautiful week. Take wonderful care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye for